The vigilant and not the sleepy are assisted by laws. The vigilant and not the sleepy are assisted by laws. Ignorance has no defense. Ignorance has no defense. The more reason why I said we need to be having these in our offices. Safety and health and environmental protection is everyone's responsibility, and it starts with you. My name is Mwelwa Dean, assistant to the CEO, and I wish to welcome you all to this second in the series to do with English training for our Chinese staff. So for today's session, it will be centered around the Safety and Environment Department. So to start with, I'll run you through in terms of our training outline. We'll start with the keywords in terms of other terminologies which is being used in safety. Then we'll look at Safety and Environment Department, just an overview. Then we'll look at, in terms of government regulatory institutions, the one which oversees safety in the mining industry, that's Mine Safety Department. I believe most of you know it at MSD. Then fourthly, we'll look at some aspects to do with safety legislation, those which are key in terms of our day-to-day activities. Then lastly, we'll talk about legal responsibilities in as regards as us as employees who are working in the mines. So to start with, again, in terms of the training objective, what we're saying is that we want to provide all employees working at NFCA with a clear understanding of the roles and functions of Safety and Environment Department. And to start with, I'll just give you this famous maxim which says, tell me and I will forget, which is usually the case. I can tell you something, tomorrow you will forget. Then show me and I will remember. Definitely, I'll show you something there, definitely you'll remember in terms of what is required of you in terms of life-saving behaviors. Then lastly, involve me and I will understand. Involve me and I will understand. The more reason why we are gathered here is to involve in terms of what Safety and Environment Department has to do in terms of our day-to-day activities. So that was by a philosopher by the name of Confucius. Our keywords for today. Our keywords for today will start with the word safety. Safety, safety. Safety is defined as the act of being safe or keeping away from danger. It can equally be said that safety involves putting control measures in place that helps reduce accidents, causing injury to people, property damage, or business interruption. Secondly, which goes hand in hand with safety, is the word hazard. Hazard, in simple words, we can say a hazard is anything which has the potential to cause harm or ill health to a person. For those of us who've gone around with those rocks and the likes, for those of us who were maybe in the concentrate and the likes, you got the aspect of dust. So those are some of the hazards which we encounter in our day-to-day activities at NFCA. Thirdly, we have to do with the word risk. Risk. Risk is the chance or probability or likelihood, it could be either high or low, that a person may be harmed or experience an adverse health effect if exposed to a hazard. What do we mean? It could be a situation where you have explosives. Then you have a person who's smoking near explosives, meaning the risk is more on the higher side of those explosives having to explode. Risk assessment. This is an assessment done at the place of work before major works occurs. It involves a systematic, proactive process of identifying, assessing, and controlling hazards that may affect people at the workplace by evaluating the extent of the risk. Going forward, we'll talk about the hierarchy of risk control. This goes hand in hand with the aspect of the other terminology I talked about, risk assessment. This hierarchy of risk control, this is the systematic approach used to eliminate or minimize exposure to hazards in the workplace, prioritizing methods from most to the least effective. Elimination, this is the highest level of protection and the most effective control measure. It involves physically eliminating or removing the hazard in its entirety and its associated risk. Like here at NFCA, we are talking of the aspect of automation. We have automated loaders which are doing the lashing in the major stops. So we've removed the aspect of the human factor there, totally eliminated, and instead substituted that one with the aspect of automated loader. That is what we call in terms of elimination. Substitution, again, it involves replacing the hazard, the risk or method process with something safer or less dangerous. It could be like upgrading or aging machinery with newer equipment, especially with the aspect of evolving technology. Then thirdly, we are talking of isolation and engineering controls. This involves physically separating the hazard or hazardous work practice from employees by distance or using isolation barriers. The aspect of placing appropriate guards around moving parts of machinery to prevent access to the rotating parts. An example would be, we've got a cable somewhere there. We've got a cable which is leading to this camera here. So what we've done, we've put a chair there to avoid people passing there. So that could be something in these lines whereby we've provided an engineering control. Going forward, administrative controls. These are safe work methods, procedures, rules, or regulations which are put in place to make people more aware of the hazard and to change the way people work by eliminating, minimizing exposure, hazards, and to reduce the level of harm while the risk is still present. Aspects to do with training. Training is an aspect of administrative control so as to eliminate the risk. PPE. Personal protective equipment. It involves protection of workers from harm through the use of PPE. PPE is only useful when it is appropriate for the task, in good condition, worn when required, and worn correctly. You could give someone PPE. Now, if he's not using it correctly, then it defeats the purpose. Injury. Injury, here we're saying an injury is the damage caused to the body organ by some form of external force. We've seen people being injured, even ourselves in our homes. We could be trying to do a bit of troubleshooting in the house, or maybe preparing a meal, then we cut our thumb with a knife. That's where we're talking of injury. External force, the knife, creating that injury on the body. Emergency. An emergency is an event that requires urgent attention in a crisis, disaster, or tragedy. An incident is an occurrence which may or may not result into an injury, damage, or loss to process. Many a times people talk of accident. But in terms of safety field, we talk of incident. So it could be there's damage to equipment, there could be injury, so all those fall under the aspect of incident. The last but not the least, we are talking of safety culture. This is how the organization behaves with respect to safety when no one is watching. It is the organization's safety personality or image. VFL is an acronym to do with visible felt leadership. This is an active and visible commitment towards safety by senior management. Many a times when you see the overall chairman, the CEO, his deputies and all coming to your work areas. That's an aspect of visible felt leadership. It shows the commitment towards safety. And the people on the ground will appreciate that aspect, that even the topmost is able to come through and see in terms of the safety of our work areas. Fatal hazard protocols. These are protocols which are placed in summary notes and signage form intended to create awareness around the most common fatal hazards prevalent across the operations by demonstrating to employees on how to identify and address the fatal hazards in their workplaces. For most of us who go underground, I'm sure you've seen these fatal hazard protocols which we've put in the various work areas, inclusive of even the metallurgical plants. Life-saving rules are set out simple, clear do's and don'ts, intended to create a safe working environment for everyone and prevention of serious injuries and fatalities. And since we are approaching Christmas, it's a very festive period. So what I've done from my end as your teacher here today, I've presented you with a Christmas gift by way of these life-saving rules. These life-saving rules. So remember to go with these to your workplaces, and I hope that you will be actioning them as they've been listed there. Okay, SOP. SOP, it simply means self-operating procedures. These are operational controls and procedures meant to ensure work activities are performed safely, worker health is protected, and regulatory compliance is maintained. For those in the operations, I believe Mr. Lee there, he's always like pushing you, chasing you. Have you updated your SOPs? Have you updated your SOPs? They are very critical in our day-to-day activities. MSD, we always hear MSD. When we hear the term MSD, everybody decides to scamper. They don't want to do anything with MSD. So today we'll try and appreciate what this MSD, this big creature MSD, what is it? So this is just Mine Safety Department, a department under the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development responsible for formulating, monitoring, enforcing legislation regarding the safe and sustainable exploration and exploitation of mineral resources. Then last but not least, we are talking of mining regulations. I don't know how many of us have got these mining regulations in our offices. Mining regulations? Can we lift up our hands, those who've got mining regulations in the offices? It's a no. Silence means no. Okay. So these mining regulations encompass a range of laws and policies designed to prevent mining activities, ensuring safety, environmental protection, and responsible resource management. And then lastly, we are talking of explosives regulations. Explosives regulations. These regulations govern the use, storage, transportation, importation, exportation, and manufacture of civil explosives in the Zambian industry or Zambian Republic. Sorry. Then, in terms of HSC values and policy, what do I say? NFCA's commitment to safety is an integral part of the company's overall vision and values. Safe production is the top priority. NFCA's safety policy outlines the company's commitment to a zero-incident work environment with a safety culture based on teamwork and safety leadership. It reflects the NFCA safety vision, which is every person going home safe and healthy every other day. So that's the policy, where again, that aspect of top management is always coming out, where we're saying top management is committed to fulfilling legal requirements and other requirements, eliminating hazards to reduce OHS risks, continual improvement of the OHS management systems, consultation and participation of workers and workers' representatives in the view of enhancing safety in the company. Then, in terms of the functional sections under Safety and Environment Department, what we said, we've got 3 functional sections. First, we've got the safety section, which is responsible for ensuring a safe work environment by identifying hazards, implementing safety protocols, and promoting a culture of safety among all employees. Secondly, we've got the environment section. This section is responsible for ensuring compliance with environmental and health risk regulations and promoting an environmentally friendly work area and conservation of the environment in order to ensure sustainability. Then last but not the least, we've got the fire and mine rescue section, which is responsible for protecting lives and property by responding to emergencies, conducting fire prevention activities, and educating employees about fire safety. Then, what we're saying in terms of the responsibility of safety and environment department in the company. Firstly, they are the ones in charge of formulating and enforcement of occupational health, safety and environmental standards. They are in charge of promotion of effective OHS management programs. They are in charge of prevention of wasteful practices at the mine, as required by the various acts of subsidiary legislation and all. Then generally what we're saying, the safety department seeks to minimize the risk of harm or injury at the workplace by educating employees, implementing procedures, and building a culture of safety. Those you are seeing, you should be keeping key to those I've highlighted in yellow, because those are the ones which are key in terms of where safety and environment department is concerned. The roles and functions of safety and environment includes the following activities. They do routine safety inspections and audits in all work areas in order to identify potential hazards and deviations. Interpretation of the mining regulations and environmental regulations to the general workforce so as to ensure that they conform to statutory requirements for the correct application of safe working procedures. They do review the occupational health and safety environment management programs, and equally the aspects of promotion of emergency preparedness at the mines, formation and review of relevant SOPs, conducting investigations in mine accidents, dangerous occurrences, and any other relevant contraventions of the above laws, and they do recommend remedial preventive measures and follow-ups to be taken. Then they are equally in charge of the aspect of conducting refresher safety lectures to new employees by way of safety inductions, safety pep talks, and safety campaigns so as to impress safety knowledge upon them and bring about safety awareness amongst the general workforce and foster a positive attitude towards safety in them. Still continued, they do conduct random alcohol screening exercises in order to ensure no employee reports for work whilst under the influence of alcohol. So again, if we head back to these life-saving behaviors, you see that number 1 is even in red. We are saying, always come to work alcohol and drug-free. Then last but not the least, they are also in charge of this aspect to do with the monitoring and waste disposal systems of all mine operations in accordance with the EMA Act to ensure protection of the environment. Environmental monitoring of noise, temperature, dust, water quality, soil, and air quality in the mining operations. I picked one word from what I've just highlighted for the aspect of safety culture. Here we're saying safety culture is how the organization behaves with respect to safety when no one is watching. It is the organization's safety personality. Successful, long-lasting, and ongoing approach to accident prevention and loss reduction is when senior management leadership commits to integrating the practices of safety into the culture of the organization. This means that the safety aspect of the business are no longer an add-on, more like a by-the-way thing, no, or a nice to have, such that, oh, it maybe even those people can know that, okay, there's some element of safety here, no, or something which is required by law, whereby you know something like, no, oh, let's just put this one just because the MSD might come in, a by-the-way thing, no. It should be a part of the business all day, all night, 24/7. That's my favorite picture, because this one, it amplifies the aspect to do with the safety culture. We've got the CEO, his deputies all over there. They're holding this banner, safety for all, building you, safety culture, things like that. Yeah. So at least from there, you're able to identify that in this company, there's that positive safety culture. In addition to safety culture, we're saying this embedded commitment to safety, which has become the way of organizational business, becomes safety personality of the organization. The commitment, however, involves more than cursory statement to provide or promote safety at all costs. It involves committing the organization from senior management team to the employees on the shop floor to a long-term, ongoing structured process aligned to the constant identification and elimination of workplace risks, which can only be achieved by the implementation and maintenance of the world's best practice safety management system. So even at NFCA, that is what is obtaining. Because this year, as NFCA, we were certified under the ISO 45001 2018 OHS certification management system. Maybe we can give ourselves a round of applause. SOPs, safe operating procedures, are issued by management under, as a result of minor regulation 403, in order to ensure that work activities are performed safely in an orderly manner. Worker health is protected and related regulatory compliance is maintained in the interest of safety and health. So like I said, whenever Mr. Lee there is pushing you for SOPs, not coming there from without, he's got the legal backing of these minor regulations, which require of him to ensure that all the operations, you've got those SOPs readily available. They should be part of your repertoire, meaning that just like I asked earlier on, for those of the production aspect, whether they've got these minor regulations in their offices, equally those SOPs should be readily available in your various offices. So just to run you through what minor regulation 403A says, no person shall fail to observe any lawful order given to him personally in accordance with or for the proper observance of the regulations, or any order whatsoever given in the interest of safety or health. That's just part of one of the SOPs which have been generated. And this one has got to do with storage, handling, and use of oxygen and acetylene. MSD. An overview of MSD. How many of us have been to MSD before? No one? No one. Why? Okay. So, MSD. What is MSD? MSD, the role and statutory mandate for Mine Safety Department includes to formulate, monitor, and enforce regulations on safety, health, and environment in the mining industry. The department also contributes greatly towards sustainable extraction of mineral resources and discourages wasteful mining practices. Under the provisions of Section 5, Part 4 of the Mines and Development Act number 11 of 2015, which has now been repealed, of the laws of Zambia, MSD is assigned the responsibility for all matters pertaining to the safety and health of all persons, employed in prospecting, exploration, and mining operations throughout the Republic. It continues, it is also responsible for all matters touching on the safety of manufacturing, possession, storage, transportation, use, destruction, exportation, and importation of civil explosives in Zambia under the provisions of the Explosives Act. Then, the Director of Mine Safety has the responsibility to protect the environment and controlling pollution in areas where mining activities are being undertaken. The functions, in terms of functional sections under MSD, they've got 4 functional sections. They've got the mining section where you have mining engineers, explosive section where you have a combination of chemical and mining engineers. They've got the machinery section, which has got to do with electrical and mechanical engineers. Then they've got environment section, where you have these environmental engineers, inclusive of metallurgists. The key functions are in terms of compliance, inspections, and audits, safety awareness lectures, campaigns, ratification of legal appointments. We just can't appoint a person to say, today you are the manager for mining department. Today you are the manager for operations department. Only MSD has got to ratify and approve that appointment for that person to undertake that role of a manager. That's where we're saying ratification of legal appointments. They do come through for investigations into accidents, equipment approvals, commissioning, PPE approvals, review of EIAs in terms of environmental issues, explosives, magazine licenses. They do quite a number there. Then, in terms of legislature, where this enforcement comes from, they draw their mandate from the Mines and Minerals Development Act of 2025, which has been repealed and has been replaced by what we are now calling the Minerals Regulation Commission Act number 14 of 2014. Then equally they draw their mandate from mining regulations, explosive regulations, environmental protection regulations, environmental regulations, ZAB standards, international standards, practices, ZEMA regulations, Radiation Protection Authority, and equally the aspect of enforcement of safety letters. So what are these safety letters? When we talk of safety letters, what we are saying, these are issued by Mine Safety Department in order to address matters not covered in the mine and explosive regulations. As you are all aware, these regulations were formulated sometime in 1971-74. So time has passed from there to now. We're talking about how many years? 74, 20, 25, how many years? Close to how many years? So we've got gaps. We've got gaps in these regulations. Hence, MSD having to issue what we are calling safety letters. And they're usually issued after certain anomalies or occurrences have been exposed, after a serious or fatal accident, where it is recognized that there are no regulations covering such occurrences. This is one of the safety letters which was generated by Mine Safety Department. It has to do with the aspect of use of self-rescuers. You see these miners carry those red things. You've seen them? Yeah. So because the regulations, the mining regulations, it doesn't cover that. So for us to comply to this requirement, hence the issuance of this safety letter. Safety legislation, guide to mining regulations. There you can see. That's why I was asking, do we have these in our offices? The Chinese version. So that's something we need to work on. All right. So what we're saying, mining of minerals in Zambia is controlled by several appropriate acts of parliament, essentially meant to protect workers and the environment against any harm due to the fact that mining is inherently dangerous. The primary objective of these pieces of the legislation is to minimize contact between the mine worker and the potential inherited danger or hazards at the places of work. Applicable laws controlling mine in Zambia, these like what I say, the Mines and Minerals Development Act, which has been repealed and replaced by the Minerals Regulation Commission Act of 2024, the Explosives Act of 1974, Environmental Management Act, Radiation Protection Act, the Geological and Minerals Development Act, which has also been acted in 2025, mining regulations, uranium regulations, cadastral regulations, and most recently we are talking of the local content regulation, which aims to ensure Zambians supply goods and services to the mining sector. Okay, Explosives Act and the subsidiary regulations, explosive regulations. All these Environmental Management Acts, it equally has those subsidiary regulations. Now, we go to the aspect to do with the legal responsibilities. We are saying mining in Zambia imposes a general duty on the manager to ensure health, safety, and welfare at work of all employees so far as is reasonably practicable. There are substantial fines and prosecutions leading to penalties such as imprisonment for both the organization and individuals. We've heard of certain operations where directors have been arrested and put in prison for failure to ensure safety in the company for non-compliance with legislative requirements. The Occupational Health and Safety Act of 2010, in terms of the duties of employers to employees, it says, an employer shall, so far as reasonably practicable, maintain a workplace under the employer's control in condition that it is safe and without any risk to the health and safety of employees at their workplace. Equally, the Mines and Minerals Development Act, it also talks about endangering safety and health of persons employed in the mine. A person employed in a mine or mineral processing plant shall not willfully and without reasonable cause do anything likely to endanger the life of a person in the mine. So it's not only the manager who has been mentioned in that piece of legislation. Equally, us as individuals, we've got certain key requirements in as these legal responsibilities are concerned. Okay, it goes on to say, a person who contravenes these regulations commits an offense and is liable upon conviction to a fine not exceeding 1 million penalty point units or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years or both. So depending on the gravity of the offense you've done, you could face 10 years in prison in Zambia just for that safety violation. So again, we are saying not that any competent person, appointee or accepts an appointment, not only assumes the responsibility of the job, he is answerable to the courts of law for any breaches of the regulations in his area of responsibility. So breaking the law means a competent person, appointee as an individual, can be prosecuted, fined, or even jailed. You've seen the wars. Have you paid a visit to any of these wars? You fear them. So that is Zambia prison service, where people serving their jail term are. So let's avoid such a scenario where we are concerned. Okay, those are just the requirements. Appointment of managers, like I said, notification of accidents to MSD, even issues to do like facilitate for regular audits or in operations, intercompany, internal. So when these MSD people come through, you shouldn't fear them. You shouldn't fear them. You need to embrace them, because there will be more like the third eye to what we are doing. There will be the third eye. So just embrace them, not more like fear them. I've seen many a times when they come, people scamper. No, you shouldn't do that. Okay, so in terms of legal appointments, this is just a typical organogram. That's how a typical organogram in an operational area should look like. All the way from the CEO to the last man who's the PIC, just like that. Again, legal obligations and rights of mine operators. The manager shall take all reasonable means to ensure that provisions of these regulations are observed and enforced on the mine or part of the mine which comes under his control. And any manager who fails to do so shall be guilty of an offense. Maybe just from there, how many departmental managers have we got here? Departmental managers? Apart from the owner of this presentation, those are the ones I needed to be here, because for those, it's something which speaks to them, this presentation. Okay, yeah, it's equally talking about the same thing. So in conclusion, I'll conclude with this legal magazine which says, the vigilant and not the sleepy are assisted by laws. The vigilant and not the sleepy are assisted by laws. What does this mean? Ignorance has no defense. Ignorance has no defense. The more reason why I said we need to be having these in our offices. Not a situation where you come and say, no. Me, I don't know that we needed to have this machinery tested before using it. No, it's not supposed to be that way. Even the law itself won't protect you on that one. Hence, like the way management has come up with these kind of interactions, it's giving us the opportunity for the various, across the lines of the operations, getting to know what each and every department requires of them. So with those few words, I wish to say safety and health and environmental protection is everyone's responsibility, and it starts with you. Thank you for your attention. Sheshe.